This is episode 109 of the Wilderness Locals podcast. On this episode, I have Chuck Peeling from Spike Camp. Spike Camp is a private community for hunters who support conservation. This podcast is brought to you by Kifaru International. Our friends at Kifaru are all settled into Wyoming now and back operating at more than full speed. They have faster lead times than they've ever had before and the same great gear. Kifaru.net. There are a few groups in North America that put boots to the ground, like the Wild Sheep Society of BC. Contrary to popular belief, Wild Sheep Society BC isn't just about sheep. The majority of their projects benefit a variety of ungulates and other wildlife. Check them out at www.wildsheepsociety.com. Great folks over there. I'm a Monarch member. You should be too. And as always, go check out our friends over at Just Shooting Arrows. Just Shooting Arrows is BC's premier archery shop.
The drive back Thursday, we left Thursday, left Sacramento, and that's fine. That section was good. We stayed in Redding, and then the next day I said, well, let's try to miss Portland rush hour because let's leave we'll leave at 9. So we left at 9 while there was road construction in Portland on the I-5. So we're like 2 hours getting through Portland, get through that side. By the time we get to Seattle, it's 3. And we hit fucking Seattle rush hour. And it was 3:00. We got to the border at 6:30 from in Aldergrove. From just literally from Tacoma to Vancouver was like 3.5 hours. So, and the shitty thing is, I'm pulling a fifth wheel. Yeah. So you're trying to give yourself like 4 car lengths between the car in front of you, and guys just hacking you, just jumping in front of you all the time. So you're slamming on the brakes every 10 seconds. It's like, my 14-year-old dog is flying off the back seat every 10 seconds. He was not happy.
It's hard to do that trip and hit it right. If you're going to do it, high speed, low drag like that, you're going to hit rush hour in either Portland or Seattle, right?
We were gonna come back a day earlier, but last week my truck threw an injector down there, fuel injector. Oh yeah, so it's like that kind of delayed things. So yeah, but all's good. How about you? You've been fishing a lot.
Yeah, fishing, hanging out with family. Getting ready to be in the woods, putting on lots of miles on boots. But that's really it, man. Fishing lots of little creeks and streams and lakes with my kids, and working on my jet boat, which I just got. So it's pretty cool.
What did you buy? You bought a jet?
Yeah, it's Outlaw and Hanny.
Oh, those are nice, dude. Nice boat.
It should be pretty trick. We're not taking it up north this year, but maybe next year or the following. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but it'll be a fishing machine for a year or so anyways, or maybe some more local stuff here.
Is that like a 18-foot?
It's a 20. It's a 20.
Oh, it's a big one.
Yeah. It's a small block Chev setup with a Hamilton pump. It's pretty cool. I'm stoked.
They're nice. Yeah, right on, man.
It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We always have John boats, right? And it's fun to throw a couple kids in, but with having 4 kids and a wife, it's pretty hard to keep everybody happy when you're taking half the squad, right? And everybody wants to go. So
exactly. Yeah. As they get older, it gets worse too. They want to all be there.
Which is a great problem to have. I mean,
it's an awesome problem.
It's some people don't have anybody to go with, and they're pulling straws to see who gets to come, right?
Did you buy it used?
Yeah, I actually got it from a buddy of mine that bought it new.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm just
the history.
Yeah. I'm just putting a floor in it, and I'm doing an aluminum floor and hydroturfing it, and just getting it all dialed for the family and for myself. But I am setting it up so we can pretty well empty the back end of it and just have it be set up for hunting with just a couple seats in it, you know?
Well, you know my number.
Yeah, for sure. I have a spot in mind for you and I that's down here. So.
Oh, neat. Can't wait, man. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about Spike. Actually, we should tell everybody who you are and what you do and what you're about and how I'll preface this by saying you're one of the most involved guys in conservation I know that's not sitting on a board somewhere.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I'm certainly not the busiest guy when it comes to that, but I'm trying to do my part. I'm building a presence in that space and trying to help out wherever possible. As far as who I am and what I'm about, 55, live in BC. I've been here for better part of 30 years. We've got 3 kids. One turned 30, the other 2 in their mid 20s. Conservation, outdoors, hunting, fishing. That's what our family's all about. That's what we raised our kids to learn and appreciate. And, lucky to say and happy to say that I got 3 very cool outdoors people, I should say, not outdoorsmen, because one of them's a girl and she's the CEO up in northern BC. So extremely proud of that. And that's cool. My 2 boys and I are big hunters. My wife doesn't hunt, but she's the chef behind the scenes and appreciates and does all that fun stuff. And as far as conservation goes, I've been involved with the Wild Sheep Society BC for a few years. And as you do, Ty, you're a big supporter. We recognize that as sort of our flagship conservation group in BC. Yeah. And we're just trying to do everything we can to try to, build that organization up and support membership and drive people to it.
That's very cool. And your son Blake, how old's Blake? 30? Is he the 30-year-old?
He's like 27, 28.
Okay. He seems mature for his age, but so you and Blake have a project you're working on. It's called Spike Camp.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Blake, he works in the digital marketing space, and that's the simple way to explain it. I don't know much more than that, other than every time I have a tech problem, he's the one to call, and he does everything. So he's he's in that space. He's got his own little company and provides the digital marketing services and web design and all that kind of fun stuff to companies, that sort of fit his model. He's one of those guys that's very, very patient guy, very selective on what he says and what he does. And he carries that through to his business. So he's very selective with his clientele as well, which is cool. Cool. For a young guy, it's pretty cool that he's got that, that patience and willpower. But him and I started trying to figure out a project. Blake's my sheep hunting partner in the family. And we spent a lot of time in the backcountry together, and he's very much a conservationist as well. And him and I wanted to do a project that would give us something to work on in the hunting space and in the conservation space, and also something that would have value for conservation and for the hunting community as well. So we noticed that there was I don't want to say a void, because there's certainly lots of venues out there for as far as platforms go and forums and that kind of thing. And we just thought we would try something a little bit different. So we came up with a concept to create a platform, basically a social network for hunter conservationists to have a place that they could share their knowledge, their resources, their stories, and just, create a community that has sort of the same goals in mind. And that we struggled, first of all, with how do we do this? Like, are we going to have to charge people? Because you can't do this for free, right? Like, it's not, it's just like running a podcast. You've got operating costs. So, as much as I'd like to fund it forever, we knew that there has to be a business angle to it as well. Mm-hmm. And, we looked at it and went, okay, we could we could open this up to anyone and everyone and charge them. But at the end of the day, what do you charge? How much? And, how do you collect all these bills? It'd just be a real pain in the ass. And it really would limit who would sign on. So we chose an angle where we will allow you on the platform if you support one of the conservation groups that we support. So in other words, we started off basically with Wild Sheep Society as our first group that we're throwing our name behind. And Kyle and his crew have been amazing as far as the support. They jumped right on board. We were just about to launch when the sheep show was on in Kamloops. So we were a couple of weeks away from a full launch. So I was at the show and just feeling people out, chatting with them, talking about it. And you could just sense there was a real sort of a real desire to have a place like this. If you look at the forums and the Facebook groups and all the, standard social media platforms that are out there, you can't post a picture without getting flamed. You can't ask a question without getting, belittled or flamed again. And there's all kinds of, shadow banning and all the other bullshit that happens. So we wanted something that was really sort of private and somewhat exclusive to the user. So that's how we came up with the idea behind Spike Camp. We chose a platform. We demoed 4 or 5 platforms till we could find one that we liked. We purchased it, and then Blake went to work with his magic to kind of build and create. And it's still very much a work in progress as far as the content and the spaces that are on there as well.
Well, it's. I mean, I think it's a welcome idea inside the hunting space, having a place to go to and chat and talk about these things and share ideas and talk about gear and everything else without having to worry about not what you're saying, but without having to worry about I don't know, like it getting you in trouble somehow, which is a funny thing to say. And it's funny that we have to worry about that, but it's a great space and it's an awesome space to share ideas, and the conversations that are on it are just fantastic.
Well, it is. And that's a straight credit right to the people that are members. We're sitting today. It doesn't sound like a lot, but we've got about 200. I think last night I checked, it was like 235 members. Mm-hmm. So think about that for a second. That's 235 hunters who have opened their wallet, bought a membership with a conservation group, and have thrown their financial support behind it. Mm-hmm. So right there, that separates them from a lot of other people that would, just jump on a forum or jump on a Facebook group, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like you and I know how far that goes, right? You actually get to see the money at work,
Well, exactly. And it's boots on the ground. And that's what we're supporting. We've had a few other groups reach out to us mm-hmm. to try to, get us to support them because they want to see what the site's all about and the platform. Yeah. And so, we've added, basically what we've done is we've added all of the chapters and affiliates of the Wild Sheep Foundation. So, Wild Sheep Society of BC's, and I could be incorrect on this, but I believe it's an affiliate member. There's a charter member group in Alberta, the Wild Sheep Foundation of Alberta. That was one that we've added. The Goat Alliance is also an affiliate, so they're on there. And we're just working out sort of rules of play now to add the BC chapter of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Yeah. We noticed out of the 235 members, and as you know, Ty, when you go on to register and set up a profile that asks you a couple questions, we had probably, I want to say a third or more people that would, put down that they were part of Wild Sheep Society and also Backcountry Hunters and Anglers of BC. Yeah. So we're going to move slowly with every group that we bring in, but just talking with Lee Miller, who you connected me with. Yeah. A couple of the other guys on there. Yeah. A couple of the other guys on there. They're headed in the same direction as a lot of the other groups that we've already have in there to support. So mm-hmm. Again, it's a community. You have to pay to be a member of BHA. And, they're a large organization throughout the US, a few chapters here in Canada. We've chosen to work with the BC chapter to start with, but we'll ease into it. We're not in a rush. For us, it's quality of membership, not quantity. Mm-hmm. But just in that, like you look at those groups, BHA's got something going on every weekend. The Wild Sheep Society, Goat Alliance, Wild Sheep Alberta, just constantly, putting on paying for projects or doing fundraisers or out there cleaning up the bush, you name it. There's just tons of stuff happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's sort of what I was saying when we were talking about this the other day. I was like, I don't know if there's an organization that's members are more active than, at least with Region 2 BHA guys, like the membership is just like, they're always doing something. There's not many, at least from my look at it, there's not that many dudes that are members that aren't getting after it too. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing, their volunteers step up. There's other groups, you can join a gun club anywhere, like a rifle range anywhere, and pretty well in BC, and you automatically get memberships into other organizations without even applying. Part of your fees for your range membership go towards other things, and that's great. But I question whether or not they get the same amount of volunteer interaction and engagement that you would get from groups like BHA or Wild Sheep, right?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, like, not to talk too much about BHA here, but like, I have to say, like, having Lee at the helm there in Region 2 is really a fantastic thing. He's such a good dude and doing such a good job. It's, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, again, we just did a behind the glass interview with Lee, and that's one of the things that we have on Spike Camp, and it's basically a member spotlight where we do a simple interview with a member just to kind of put them out there to show what they're all about and what they're doing. And Lee's a classic example of somebody that made a move to Canada, wanted to get into hunting, didn't know much about hunting in BC. I think he hunted back in the UK and wherever he was from, but just got in there, rolled up his sleeves, joined a club, started getting involved, and that's the kind of people we want on our platform.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly what you guys are after, right? Okay, so here's a question for you, and here's a question that people have asked me when I talk to them about Spike Camp: is how is this different from any of the XYZ hunting forums or Facebook places? And I know we already talked about how, you're not going to get shadow banned for talking about your rifle, or you're not going to get shadow banned for talking about a deer that you shot or any of that. But content wise, what's different? How is it just not another forum?
Yeah, great question. So the content is evolving every day. So we started off with the basic, kind of list of subject matter or discussion topics that we felt were prudent that people would want to sign on. So when you register for Spike Camp, you're automatically subscribed to, I think, 3 different spaces. And then from there, you can subscribe to the other spaces. So you just join them, and it basically creates a feed similar to what you'd have on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Now, we're adding spaces, but we're not adding all of them all at once, just simply because we're looking at, we don't want to overwhelm people. And quite honestly, with 235 members and we've been up for 5 weeks, it takes a while to build the content base in each of those spaces, right? Yeah. If you go on there, you're going to see my name all over everything, right? Like I've put posts in every space, and I'm trying to, at least, start something, put a fingerprint in there, get the discussions going. But as it evolves, it's not Chuck Peeling's platform. It's not Blake Peeling's platform. This is Spike Camp. It's everybody's platform. Mm-hmm. And we'll evolve. Where are we different? Well, there's a few things in there that make us different. One is the hunter resources section, which is something I'm personally really excited about. We had some issues a couple years ago with sheep being seized And a lot of that was, some misinformation. There was a lot of mistakes made by young hunters. Mm-hmm. And, you could debate whether or not some of that was social media driven with the grip and grin and the presence on IG photos and stuff where guys are, just have to kill something. But if you go to the hunter resources section, we're building that up as a true resource section for hunters. And that's hunters of all ages and all levels of experience. So we've got a section in there for sheep aging, for example. Mm-hmm. It's got, 5 or 6 different videos on aging sheep. And these are videos that are out there for the public to find. You've got the different states and provinces that have sheep educational videos. Those are on there. Clay Lancaster's videos on there. We've got some discussions with the bios. I've reached out to Bill Jex. I'm going to involve him a little bit as we get closer to sheep season with some more educational tools. One of the things that we're going to do is the platform allows for a lot of really cool interactive platforms such as like live video feed. So we can do a live video interview or a panel of people, and we could have literally a live seminar on whatever topic you want, whether it's sheep hunting, hand loading, elk calling, whatever. So as we get closer to the seasons, we're going to reach back to the membership and, assemble basic panels, I guess, if you want to call it that, mm-hmm. Get guys on there and just get the membership involved and start to educate. It's also a place where, you can find all the information. We're putting up the regulations and the LEH synopsis and all that stuff. You'll be able to find it there. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly one example. I think, as far as what other features on that platform make us different, well, it's the membership. I mean, I always circle back to that. I mean, if you just look at the people we have already, if we can grow that membership with the same quality of member, then the platform drives itself. And, as we move along, we're going to start to do more contests to drive engagement, working with some sponsorship partners to get some brands up there. So we're trying to keep it fresh. And I think the real difference as we move forward, most of these platforms that we have here, at least in Canada, they don't have like a full-on content manager or team of people trying to drive the content and engage the members. You go on a forum or a Facebook platform, it's just basically people on there just typing away, right? And you don't have a plan. And I think that's where we're going to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you obviously hit the nail on the head. I'm pretty active on there, just poking around, talking and leaving comments and stuff. Like I was just swiping through here, and it's like the discussion is cool because a lot of these guys, they're deep enough entrenched in the outdoors where they're willing to spend some money on joining a conservation group and kind of putting their money where their mouth is. But like, they're using the gear they're talking about. And like, I was just reading one on there. You asked, hey, is anybody using the new Dew Point gear from Sitka? And then my friend Ed Thompson chimes in there. He's like, if it's anything like the old stuff, I'd run it. Like I don't know.
Exactly.
Is there a better place to get info from? Like guys like that are on there giving their opinion. It's pretty freaking cool, man.
Well, exactly. And the gear is certainly a big component of it because you can bet when someone posts an opinion on a piece of gear, that they're using it and they have an opinion, mm-hmm. and they're likely not being sponsored by somebody. What I really like is when we run, these little contests, like there's a lot of heat on in the media about the grip and grin, and like, this is a soft topic for me, it gets me all fired up. We bust our freaking asses as hunters to go out there. And, how often do you come home without something, right? Well, it's more often, at least in my case, it's more often I come home empty handed than I do with, something in my hand. And part of that is we love the adventure. We want to be out there. If I could hunt every day, I would, but that doesn't mean I'm going to kill something every day. Mm-hmm. So when you actually do harvest an animal, there's your PC term, Ty.
Yeah,
harvest.
good. Yeah.
But you can harvest it, but at the end of the day, it still ends up dead and on the ground.
Yeah.
And you earned it, and you busted your ass, unless you're jumping out of a truck and shooting something, which happens. But
Totally.
when you look at a photograph of an individual who's harvested an animal, whether it's a first time hunter who just shot his first 2-point muley buck, or a kid that just shot their first turkey, don't look at the animal. Just look at the smile on that face.
Uh-huh.
That's why you're there. Like, you're super proud. You're super happy. Well, you go and post that on Facebook, or, one of the other, if there's a drop of blood, you're getting kicked off, where at least on our site,
yeah.
You're not. And the cool thing is, we ran a contest just right out of the gate, $50 gift certificate for your grip and grin. And we had every species you can imagine. I don't know if you surfed that one much, but boy,
I posted my goat in it.
Oh, your goat. Yeah. So that to me is really cool. And then you get into, we had another member just last week just posted a photo of a sheep that he had shot, or one of his buddies had shot, and the traditional as they lay picture when you walk up. Yeah. And that got me thinking, it's like, well, there you go. We've got another contest, and sure enough, we got a few guys on there. Yeah. But it's not just about the pictures, it's the hunters and conservationists on this platform are the resource. And there's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a ton of knowledge. Not everybody's willing to share their knowledge, but in most cases, if you're here, you're here for a reason, and sharing is part of it.
I think the discussion about ethics and conservation and what it means to be a hunter and all this kind of stuff I think it's really hard to have those conversations in open forums. Like, you have that discussion on Facebook. The third comment is always like, "Oh, you're sick," or whatever, right? Yeah. And it's like, me and my wife recently became friends with these folks, and they were like, they weren't anti-hunting, but they were just never exposed to it, right? Just no idea. And it honestly really opened my eyes to people outside of our echo chambers view or opinion on what we're doing, right? They're like, oh, these people didn't say that, but I think most people think, oh, it's bloodlust, or it's this, or it's that. You just hop in your truck and you go shoot a deer. And like, having these conversations with these folks, they start realizing like, oh, this is like, you're involved heavily in conservation. Like, a lot of these species wouldn't be on the landscape if it wasn't for hunters. And then the other component of it too is like being really honest about it, right? Like you're not going on a sheep hunt for the meat. Like, we don't need to lie about it either, right? Like, it's an adventure thing. You don't have to do the standard justification thing that you see hunters do 24/7, which honestly, it makes me feel a little, I don't know, a little cheesy when I hear guys, oh, I'm hunting for meat. Well, you're not, because you spent $1,700 that weekend to go shoot a deer and get 100 pounds of meat off of it, right? So I don't know.
Exactly.
Anyways, I think like the need for a space where there can be open, honest discussion about conservation hunting and anything to do with it is just such a welcome thing, in my opinion. I think it's great.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I mean, and you touched on it too, right? Like, if somebody if we had like free preview time on Spike Camp, and you had somebody like your friends, who weren't really exposed to hunting. Yeah. And you said, hey, let's check this out. So we log on. The first thing you see is you're kicked in the teeth with conservation message right out of the gate. Right. Yeah. So like, well, welcome to conservation. And if you dig a little deeper, then you see, okay, well, there's an educational component to this. Yeah. And again, back to that, there's going to be a lot more coming with that. But you look at that and then you go, all right, well, what do you do with the meat? Well, go down to the field to table section. Again, it's a new space, and we're going to have a lot more content added there. There's going to be sausage making seminars and stuff like that. Like before you even get to, the actual hunting spaces, you're hit with those messages. And that's why we do it, for the most part. And I agree, I don't even want to even remotely think about how much money I spent on hunting last year and convert it to the pound, right? No. Like, come on. Yeah, we're going broke fast.
Yeah, we're definitely, there's not a good return on investment when it comes to
Not so much.
But unless you count adventure and memories as dollars, right?
And you should.
Absolutely.
Right? And you should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's super cool what you guys are doing, and I don't think there's a better two guys to be getting after it. It's awesome, and like I mean, to give people a little bit of the backstory, a little more of the backstory, and a little deeper look into Chuck, or the Peeling Boys rather, is like you guys like donate rifles for auction for Wild Sheep Society. Like you're very involved. You're not the average member.
Well, again, there's certainly. Yeah.
I'm going to pause you. I know you don't want to toot your own horn, but I'd love it if you just explain to people a little, like, because to me, it's like, it's a little, it's not mind blowing, but it's like, wow, these guys are really passionate about this stuff.
Well, back to the rifle. I talked about this on Talk a Sheep podcast a little bit because that's where, that was where the initiative came from. But, the story behind Tom Leonard is a very tragic, sad story. For those that don't know, I think it's going on 18 years now, I think. Yeah. He got drawn for a tag in the Spatsizi Wilderness area and went on a solo hunt. There's a lot of good information out there, and there's a couple of really good podcast interviews. But at the end of the day, Tom did not come home, and the investigation may or may not have gone the way it should have. I'm trying to be PC here, but the family did not get the answers they needed, and there was several attempts at searches. There were a few searches, in fact, that went into the backcountry up there, and they were inconclusive. And then a few years ago, there was some information came out from a hunter that may have discovered some of Tom's camp. Mm-hmm. And, long story short, there was again some attempts at searches, and Blake and I were driving back from one of our hunts in northern BC. It might have been a sheep hunt a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And we listened to the podcast that Kyle and his crew at Wild Sheep did with Tammy Leonard, the wife of Tom. And it was gut wrenching, and I'm sure you listened to it. Yeah,
it's hard to listen to for sure.
It's definitely hard to listen to, and take it a step further. Her daughters did a YouTube video, just sort of pleading for help and just getting the message out there. So we had just gotten back, as you know, Ty. I'm a gun nut. God, it's a problem actually.
I've even bought rifles from you before.
That's true, you have. So, I just love rifles. I was born and raised in a gun nut family, and I had just built a really slick little custom rifle. Gary Flock built it for me. It's a Tikka Action and chambered in 6.5 PRC, and we had just taken it on a hunt. It had literally 20 rounds through it. Mm-hmm. Interesting enough, on that hunt, that rifle fired 4 warning shots at a grizzly bear that wanted to eat my son and I. So that was really the only excitement that gun, really had in its system. We got back. I brought it back to Gary and we cleaned it up, and I had him put a fresh gun coat, paint job on it just to touch up a couple little marks. And then I phoned Kyle, and I just said, look, I'd never met him before. I just said, look, I just listened to this podcast. I've been following the story. We have to do something. And let's do it. I'm going to donate a rifle and a scope. I bought I think I had a Leica, one of those brand new Leica rifle scopes on there. And I bought it from Omer, and just basically said, here, take this gun, do with it what you can. And they sold the raffle. They put it up for raffle. It took a few months, right, to get the license and everything, but they did the raffle, and that gun generated about 20 grand.
Amazing.
And yeah, crazy. They sold that raffle sold out, and I think Kyle said 5 hours. It was like the set a record for the fastest sellout on a raffle that they'd had, and for good reason, right? Everybody's, how many times have you gone out even for a day by yourself, right? Anything can happen.
That's 99% of the hunting I do is alone. So no, that story hits hard for me.
It does. And hits hard for me as well, because I'm like you. I'm out there on my own. And all I could think about with the whole drive home was like, what if this was my wife on this podcast, man?
100%.
Like it's, yeah. So we donate the gun, and then the Joey Prevo from Terrace, super cool dude. He had kind of a similar revelation. He was getting ready to go on a sheep hunt on his own. He lives up there. He was going on a solo hunt. He was going actually with a buddy, I think, and something happened with his buddy, couldn't make it, and he was going to go solo. And his friend said, "You got to listen to this podcast, buddy. Like you got to listen to this story." And so Joey was like, right away, he jumped on board, and we kind of worked together as a group to get the funds raised, and then channel them to Terrace Search and Rescue to coordinate a search. So then they went in just this past summer, did a search. They did find some stuff, but it came back inconclusive as far as we know. That's about all I can say. I don't know a ton more info than that, but needless to say, we're not done. There's still a little bit of money left from the proceeds of that rifle. And I've started some preliminary discussions with Tammy. Really it's up to them. If they want to continue the cause and the search for Tom, then I know in my heart, I know this community, we can put a ton of money on the ground if we really put our, our minds to it. There's so many resources and so many great people out there. So Spike Camp will be involved. We're going to start the discussions. I'm waiting for Joey. He's traveling right now. When he gets back, we're going to loop back with him and go back to the Wild Sheep guys and see if we can start something and maybe start another fundraising campaign. But yeah, so that was a sort of a passionate, a passionate movement for me. It was to try to help do something with that family's, tragedy that they're dealing with. And then, other than that, we just really want to drive members to these conservation groups that we've, put our name behind. So anything we can do to support them, we're going to do that. We're going to be at the golf tournament actually in another month. The Wild Sheep Society has a golf tournament in Kamloops. So Blake and I are going to be sitting on one of the holes, just visiting with guys and
that's cool.
Watching some amazing golf, I'm sure. So
is there such thing?
With a group of hunters? I'm not so sure. We'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be rough. That's funny.
It'll be fun. I'll guarantee you that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, on the conservation side of things, Blake, one of the things he did when he got back, actually after that year where we had all the short sheep, he took an hour or two in the evening one night and created a website for aging sheep. He just was like, he was pissed off that there wasn't anything yet. Yeah, it's kind of funny. If somebody gets, it depends on your skill set and your talent, right? Like, an artist goes out and whips up a painting and donates it or something. Someone like Blake or, techie guy like that just whips up a website like it's nothing, so.
That's funny. Oh, man. So, I mean, Spike Camp's wicked. I love it. I'm having fun on it. What do you guys have on the books for this year? What are the hunts coming up? I think you guys are flying somewhere, aren't you?
We're doing, I have a few hunts. Blake has a couple. So, Blake's actually getting married in September on the Labor Day long weekend, right before elk. So
good man.
He's got that, but, him and I we have a sheep hunt, lined up for opener. And we're doing jet boat transporter for that. We're pretty excited. It's the spot we were in last year. We're going to go back in there and enjoy the backcountry for the opener. Hopefully this weather, changes patterns. It just shouldn't be this dry right now, but fingers crossed that we start getting some rain. But we're doing that, and then a bit of a break. The wedding happens in September, and then we got to get that boy an elk. Blake's been fighting to get a bull elk for probably 6 or 7 years. I cannot tell you how many 5 points we've called in. Always seems to be in a 6 point season. We haven't tried anything up north yet. Yeah. But as you know, we're gonna gear up pretty hard to try to kill that boy an elk.
Yeah.
And we're gonna focus on that for a month. So looking forward to that one.
I tried last year.
You did. Yeah. You were in 5-Point Mania for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. But I mean, I was trying to get Blake on him too.
You were, yeah. He got a bit of a late start on working with you, but he's got his trail cams up. He was over here last night, and we were checking out some new gear and stuff, and we were talking about it. And he's like, "All right, when are we doing a scouting trip?" And I'm like, "Dude, I just got home from the States like 2 days ago. I need a little bit of time." But yeah, he's ready to go. We're gonna do that, and then. I'm not a really big LEH guy. I guess I've had my heart's been broken for like 30 years in a row on LEH. So it's hard, I'll do my annual donations to the LEH.
Yeah.
But I'm probably, who knows, I'll put in for the big ticket items and we'll see. And then I have a moose hunt. Lined up in Alberta for the late season. So the first week in November, doing a moose hunt there. And then, man, you know me, Ty, it's mule deer season for November, and I'll be hitting it hard this year. I haven't killed a nice muley in a couple years, and going to try some new areas this year and try and get my boots on the ground as much as I can for mule deer.
Yeah, that's cool. I have a hankering for a good BC mule deer too. I'm going to Alberta this year to bow hunt them with Wasey as well, but I'm really looking forward to chasing mule deer in BC, chasing them at home, It's
fun. Yeah, the Alberta and Saskatchewan for hunting are it's so different, but it's so much fun. I'm jealous that bull hunt. Are you guys going in the south? Obviously, probably are, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Southern Alberta.
Yeah. It's so nice. Yeah, I have. We've got some family in Red Deer.
Yeah.
And both the boys hunt, my nephews. So I was out there last year. One of my nephews had a moose tag, it was a draw right around Red Deer, right in the rural area.
Yeah.
So it was like all private land. And I don't know if you've done any of those type of hunts, but boy, it's all about the permission, right? It's all about,
your door knocking. You go and checking out all the header rates and begging. Please.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we were out there. I went out last year and helped him with his moose, and I shot a little whitetail buck on the last day, and so I'm from the prairies originally, from Saskatchewan. So any chance I can get to go back there, it's so hard now to go back to Saskatchewan. They've got this crazy Canadian resident draw that unless you have,
it's like 1,000,000 to 1 to draw, or a blood relative, right?
A blood relative, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to convince my daughter to move there, but so far, no luck. But
why don't you move to Saskatchewan so Dad can hunt?
Exactly. I don't see the problem with that.
Me either. That sounds great.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the plan. So you're doing mule deer archery with Wasey, right?
Yeah. So I was planning on flying in for stone sheep with Ronnie, or jet boating. We, whatever, doesn't matter. I was planning on doing stone sheep with Ronnie, and then I had some family stuff come up, and I have a family member that's doing some chemotherapy. So I'm focusing on that, and it should be done hopefully before August, but I don't want to be away. So I'll be home for August, and then September, I'll go hard on elk probably for archery season. Then after that, I will probably start looking at bighorns. I think that's what I'm going to do. I have a hankering for sheep, and not getting up north means bighorns, right? So might do that. And then, and then I'll probably switch my focus to muleys and blacktails. I have a couple blacktails that have been bugging me for a few years now. You've seen the photos of them, and
I have, yeah.
And so that, and then a nice big BC mule deer would be really cool. So we'll see what the draws say, though.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, right? Like, I made reference to my heartbreak on the LEH, but one of my all-time favorite, probably the most favorite hunt I've ever done in my life was back, I think 2010 or 11. Yeah. My two sons and my dad and I pulled 2 two moose tags up in the Caribou.
Oh, cool.
Shared hunt. Yeah. And unbeknownst to us at that time, my dad had just been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he had a freaking tumor the size of a golf ball, and he didn't tell me. So we go on this hunt for a week, and Blake ends up shooting. He was my partner, and Dallas, my older boy, was with my dad. We literally stopped we've been searching around for moose. Moose were really high up in the cut blocks and stuff because of the weather. Yeah. So we got up before daylight up on this cut block, and we split up. Dallas and Dad went over the hill behind us, and Blake and I started walking around the other side, and we spotted him a couple of dark spots down the hill. And Blake, first shot ever at a bull moose with a rifle he'd never shot before. I might get torched for this, but my uncle had built the rifle, and he smoked this moose, 300 short mag custom that my uncle had built.
Wicked.
Smoked him at 350 yards, dropped him, and turned out that hunt, it was the first time my boys had ever hunted with their grandfather, because they, family dynamics, we just didn't have it. And turned out that was his last hunt. He fought cancer for another 7 years. So the boys have all these memories. And so that to me was like, it's like the one moose tag I've pulled in like 30 years of living in BC. So, we'll see. But
that's a cool story. It's tough, but it's a cool story.
Exactly.
Okay, so what do you think on LEH tactics? Because I get this conversation all the time from buddies and whoever, right? But it's like, do you go for the stuff that has a reasonable odds to draw, or do you just send it and go for the 1,200 to 1 Kamloops Lake sheep tag?
Okay, so
or does it make a difference to Chuck?
Well, it doesn't make a ton of difference, but here's my strategy, Ty.
Yeah, hit me.
So what I do is I look at the gold medal tags, like Roosevelt elk and the bighorns. As you know, I've got property at Savannah, so it'd be pretty cool if I shot something up there. But now looking at the way that draw's laying out, I don't think it's happening in my life. But so what I'll do is
you're saying you don't have 1,000 entries.
I wish, yeah.
Okay.
I got a place for someone to stay, though. You can camp right on my property, and I'll come with you. So putting that out there. But my strategy is I take a look at a couple of the gold medal tags like sheep and rosies. Yeah. And I just apply for the same ones every year. Just maybe one of these days, because it's like, what are the chances, but who knows? And then every year I'll take a look at something different, whether it's goats or, maybe it's caribou or, I tend to usually either go, very far north for moose on over the counter. Like I'll do a fly in for a moose or, some sort of remote trip. But now with all the regulation changes in 7, everybody's just flooding like the float plane companies. And there's a lot of shit going on with those guys too. I mean, there's different charter companies have changed ownership and management, and there's just a lot going on. Like if you want to book a flight today, I don't think you're going to have much luck getting a flight out of Region 6 anywhere during moose season. Like I could be wrong, but just from the guys that I know and people I talk to, it's a disaster. So for me, I'm doing a moose hunt in Alberta, so it doesn't really affect, but I'll put my kids in for I'll definitely put my kids in and help them with their draws for areas in the Caribou, because that's where we have a property up in Green Lake up there, and we're up there quite a bit in the fall. So if we could get a tag at home, that's it. But that's my strategy is, stick with the heavy duty tags, do a couple of those, apply, hope for the best, and then just try something different, maybe goats this year. I don't know. We'll see. What are you going to apply for?
So I play the odds. And so like, you'll know this, like when the LEH synopsis comes out, the odds that are posted are actually last year's odds.
Yeah.
And have you ever looked at them like, you take like 2020 LEH odds and look at 2021 LEH odds and look how they change year to year?
Yeah, I have actually. And
they flip flop.
Exactly. It's like chasing a number on the roulette wheel. right?
I'm giving away a secret here. This is like a Tyler statistic OCD went to school for programming secret.
Yeah. Tyler's hot tip.
Tyler's hot analytical tip. The odds flip flop. So if you go back and look at a bunch of years of synopsis, LEH synopsis, and look at the odds, you can hit it backwards. So like, for instance, on my goat tag, when I drew my goat tag, it was like 10-1 to draw, and last year it was 24-1. And this year would be a good year to apply for it because people see 24-1 and they go to something else, right?
Yeah, exactly. That number, last year's number was huge. So they jump. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's part of my tactic. I think I'm probably one and done on mountain goats. In a lot of ways, like I would love to go on more mountain goat hunts, but I don't really need to be the shooter now. Like the goat I shot was fantastic. And I think it'll take me a lifetime of hunting to find a better goat, which is in the cards, but it's just not, it's not really a very high on my pursuit list. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, for sure. And with goats, I mean, if you're going to sheep hunt in northern BC, you're going to be around goats. So you may have an opportunity hunt, along the way where all of a sudden, holy shit, there's a nice billy, somebody's tagged out on a ram and you got a few days to kill, then that's it. Or, who knows? We haven't killed a goat yet either, but it's definitely on the list. Blake's kind of obsessed with, he's obsessed with all things hunting. He's changed his life to be, so he can hunt more, but goats and elk are right on his list.
Yeah. And like, I think for like the obvious reasons, there's a couple particular valleys in region 6 that you'd be wanting to head into if you're trying to shoot a big old mature billy, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of my thinking on goats. Like I would really like to draw that same tag that I drew in 2021 again. But that being said, like if I drew it this year, it would be at the expense of other stuff that I'm more interested in doing right now, just because I've already shot, I think, like probably a lifetime best for me for a mountain goat, right?
Well, you guys did so well on that trip. I mean, your goat and Wasey's both. I mean, she's considering that was not in your draw area, right? That was over the counter.
Yeah, that was those are OTC goats. Yeah. Wasey can't shoot a draw. So yeah, I mean, probably no goat. I think I'll probably put in for one of the ridiculously hard draws for a goat. So if I draw it, I have to go, right? Sheep, I'm going to look at bighorn. Elk, do all the normal hard to draw Roosevelt stuff because we have such good opportunities for elk almost everywhere, right? Mule deer, I normally just put in for a doe tag and cut it in half if I draw it.
Right. Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's really it. Like, I'd love to draw a moose, but I haven't killed a moose yet. And, I've only been on one moose hunt and I ended up packing out a moose with a buddy. But not a ton of experience on moose, but I seem to run into them all the time. So I'd like to draw that.
Yeah.
Too. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I didn't think, I don't know. There's so much politics behind the, I don't want to get into the political side too much, but with, the land issues and stuff like that. I mean, if you're not applying for tags, you might regret it one day. Sooner rather than later, right?
For sure.
So I think everybody should. I mean, we clearly need a better system, in my opinion. And I don't know that there's even a perfect system out there. But if you look at other provinces like Alberta, even Saskatchewan, at least, there's ways you can sort of plan your life out around your draws to a certain degree. I mean, you're going to get a tag like every 5 years or whatever on certain species. So, I think we've got to take advantage of it in BC, and we should be applying because who knows when it can be taken away. And that's what scares me the most is, I want to see a future out there for my kids and their kids. Mm-hmm. And, hopefully our government can, do something with this LEH system, because it is crazy. I mean, we all know the stories, right? You got guys that draw tag every year. Oh, I got a moose tag again. I got a moose tag. And you got guys like me. It's like, once it shouldn't be a once in a lifetime tag to shoot a moose in the middle of BC, right? So,
yeah, I think so the guys that draw a tag every year, and like, again, we don't want to get into politics, but is that a symptom or a condition of corruption, or is that a symptom or a condition of a poorly designed system?
Well, I think it's fair to say it's most definitely a poorly designed system. Mm-hmm. The first part of that question, I think there's answers from both camps on that one.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. It depends who you talk to, I guess. But just think about it, right? Like, where else do you have this ridiculous, random, out of freaking nowhere lottery for stuff, right? Unless you're trying to get a draft pick in the NHL, I guess, with a ping pong ball. I don't know. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, here's what we'll do. I got an idea. I have an idea here. Okay.
We're going to fix it, Ty?
No, me and you aren't going to fix it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on Spike Camp right now. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to post the thumbnail from this podcast. And I am going to say Wilderness Locals. I'm typing this right now. Wilderness Locals podcast discussion. There we go. And I'm going to say,
right on.
Let's talk about the controversial. How do I even spell that? I'm too dumb for this post. Controversial topics Chuck and I were discussing here.
Perfect.
And I'm going to put a little wacky emoji. There you go. So there you go, guys.
Awesome.
So if you're not on Spike Camp yet, let's go on there and let's all BS and let's talk about stuff that
yeah, mic crash, I think.
back.
You back?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. But anyway, so let's all get on Spike Camp and let's talk about some good stuff. I just posted on there a post under general hunting. If you guys want to go look, join up, and we could chat about all things hunting there.
Cool. And all I could say to that, Ty, is if you're not a member of the conservation groups that we list, and you want to know more about them, just type in spikecamp.com. You'll go to our landing page, and the groups that we support are listed there with links. And, don't just try to join unless you are an active member on those platforms or with those groups. We do check. We work with each of those groups to verify membership. Luckily, we haven't had too many guys trying to skirt the system, but we have had a few. People are like, I'm a member of my family. Can I get in? No, you're not. That's nice. But, join a conservation group, open your wallet, and then have free access. One of the groups that we're working with, Wild Sheep Foundation Alberta, they put this out in their email blast to their membership, and I really like how they worded it. They refer to Spike Camp as a member's benefit or a perk. If you're a member of our group, then you have free access to Spike Camp, and that's how we want to be perceived, as a definite benefit to hunters. So.
Perfect. I think it absolutely is a benefit to hunters, and you and Blake are doing a fantastic job. I got to get Blake on here too. And yeah, thanks for spending your morning with me, and I'll give you a call offline and we could talk more about secret spots and hunting in LEH.
Right, man. Well, Ty, I just want to thank you personally. You were one of the first guys we talked to when we were trying to float this idea out there about this platform, and you've been a super supportive part of the whole thing. So we just want to thank you on behalf of Blake and I both. Thanks, bud.
I couldn't be more happy to help, man. I just heard your phone buzz from my post I did on Spike Camp too, by the way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. There it is.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. You can follow us on Instagram at Wilderness Locals. If you want to support the podcast, please check out the gear, articles, and whatever else we're up to on the website at www.wildernesslocals.net.